You know that you've really hit on something that I really wanted to talk about. I'm just looking for the opportunity to talk about it, and you've just raised something that touches right to the center of it. Um, and that is, back in the day, the culture has changed so much, first of all. The culture of consumerism has changed. I'm Gen X, so I've lived through the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, so you get to see that whole transition. And even in my relatively short lifespan, I have seen us move from durable electronics to, um, you know, where we're now in a space where consumerism is in overdrive, and everything is made almost to fail. And yet when it fails, there there aren't the repair shops there anymore to fix them. And not just that, they make the equipment so you're not able to even fix them yourself or easily fix them. It's often cheaper to buy that a new equipment, a new phone, a new device, rather than to try to fix it. The batteries are sealed in. That's number one. You know, they seal everything in. You cannot repair the modern equipment as easily as you could repair these older gadgets. And the worst part of it is that they actually make it so that these equipment fail on purpose. And that's what we call planned obsolescence. And it fails in two ways. Either the hardware fails, or they will, even if the hardware does not fail. Like for example, I have my original iPad here. That thing is was built like a tank. I think they built it too strong, and if they fixed that in subsequent releases, they realized that they made a mistake. They screwed up. That thing was just way too durable. And then in subsequent releases of the iPad, if it falls on the ground one time, it will shatter. That original iPad, I bought it for my son when he was just about a year old. And he dropped it several times. I think never developed even one crack. But I still have that device, still intact. But guess what? I can't use it because they gimped the software. So even when the hardware is intact, they will mess up the software or the operating system so that it's practically useless. You can't get apps on it. So that's another way in which they force you to get to the next thing or to buy the next iteration of whatever thing that they put us on. So we are like on a hamster wheel, or you could say that we are like on one of those escalators, or we're just being passed through versions of devices from one version to the next, and they expect you to get the next version. And the right to repair is certainly a big thing right now that we all should be concerned about, because frankly, this earth cannot sustain this level of consumerism. And I think it's really a disservice that a lot of the electronics that we keep on discarding ends up on the landfill, because they claim to recycle. But when you go to recycling, because I used to manage a landfill, so I know only a small portion of that thing that you send for recycling actually ends up being recycled. They take only small components, the rest end up in the landfills. That's not acceptable, and a lot of these companies will tout themselves as the, environmental champions. But if they were really environmental champions, then we wouldn't have like what's happening in the Congo right now happening, would we?